I caught her red-handed, red nails, red dress, red-faced, but not from guilt. She was laughing, hand on his chest, his Rolex gleaming like it had something to prove. That moment split my life into two, before I knew and after I saw. It started the way slow leaks start, nothing obvious, just a steady hiss behind the walls. We've been married 17 years. Her name is Monica. Long brown hair, green eyes, the kind that never gave too much away. She knew how to make a man feel seen. Or maybe that was just me. Either way, I didn't see the crack until it was already a canyon. Back in January, she picked up a new client. She's in real estate, luxury homes, mostly. It's a good racket. Glamorous. Competitive. You have to know how to sell a lifestyle, not just a house. Monica was good at that. Too good, maybe. The man's name was Grant something, never got the last name, not right away. She just referred to him as the client or the developer. But his name started showing up in little ways. She mentioned his coffee order, said he only drinks La Colombe. She came home one night with a joke he'd told, laughed too long about it. I didn't think anything of it at first. You don't, do you? You trust the one you sleep beside. But it was the shoes that made me blink. Monica always wore heels to showings. Her usual pairs lived in a cubby near the back door. But these new ones, black stilettos with red soles, never made it back to the cubby. She kept them in her car. I asked about it. She said it was just easier that way. Don't you trust me? She asked, tilting her head like I'd just kicked the dog. I did. Or I wanted to. The next strange thing was the perfume. Not hers. Something floral and sharp that lingered when she passed me, different from the vanilla scent she used to wear. I asked if she changed brands. She said she hadn't. Said I must be imagining it. That I was being weird. But I knew that smell. Expensive. Like the kind you buy from boutiques that don't advertise. I tried to let it go, but every time she walked by me with that new scent, it felt like someone whispering in my ear, pay attention. Then came the money. We weren't struggling. I do commercial plumbing, real contracts, not some fly-by-night handyman routine. I've got 5 trucks with my name on them. But Monica started brushing off things she never used to, brunch bills she used to split, gifts for her sister's baby she used to buy without blinking. Said she was cutting back. But her nails were done more often. Her hair looked freshly colored every 2 weeks. And once, I saw a sleek, black shopping bag tucked in the trunk. It said Bergdorf Goodman. She said it was a gift from a client. Didn't open it in front of me. Something was rotting under the floorboards. I just couldn't find the source yet. By March, I noticed she started working late more often. Her phone was face down. She got twitchy if I walked behind her while she texted. When I asked who she was messaging, she said, just work stuff. I decided to test it. I stood outside the office one evening when she said she was pulling a late shift. The lights were off. I waited for 2 hours. No one came in. When she got home that night, I asked how the client presentation went. She said, went great. They really liked my comps. I said nothing. Next day, I dropped by her office midday, brought coffee. Her assistant, Carla, gave me a strange look and said, oh, she's not in. She's doing a showing in the hills. I thanked her, walked out, sat in my truck and waited. Called her. She didn't pick up. Texted, everything good? She wrote back instantly. Yep, just wrapping up a meeting. Talk soon. A lie, smooth as silk. That was the moment I knew. Not suspected. Knew. And that's when I decided to stop asking questions. I started planning instead. I bought a burner phone. Created a fake identity. Posed as a client looking for a hillside property. Told Carla I'd heard great things about Monica. Said I was flying in from Dallas. Big oil money. Interested in a secluded villa, high ceiling, infinity pool, something classy. Carla ate it up. Booked me a meeting for the following week. Monica would meet me personally. I didn't show. That was never the plan. But now I had her schedule. Thursday, 3 p.m. Beverly Crest. I drove out there at 2:15, parked on a ridge where no one would see my truck, and walked the last half mile. Stayed off the road. Just trees, pavement, and me. The house was staged but empty. And there, in the grand living room through the full-length glass windows, I saw her. She wasn't alone. He was tall, fit, tan. The kind of man who didn't grow up working with his hands. Navy blazer, no tie, loafers without socks. He handed her a champagne flute. She laughed, touched his chest. Her wedding ring caught the light as she leaned into him. I took photos. From several angles. And I waited. Because this wasn't the end. It was just the start. You don't win by catching a snake. You win by making sure it knows it slithered into the wrong garden. She came home humming. That's what I remember most about that night. That damned humming. Not a tune I recognized. Not a song she'd ever hummed around me before. It was soft and almost off-key, but there was something smug in it. Like someone hiding a secret behind a smile. She walked in the door like a woman who had just escaped a fire without so much as a burn, dropped her purse on the counter, and kissed me on the cheek. "You okay?" she asked. "You look a little pale." I was pale. I had just spent the last 3 hours watching her lean into a man who could probably buy and sell our whole block before breakfast. A man who had probably never worn work boots, never handled PVC, never bent under a crawlspace with a flashlight in his mouth. I smiled. "Just tired." She smiled back. "You work too hard." I wanted to say, "So do you." But I didn't. Instead, I watched her move around the kitchen, pour herself a glass of wine. She used to ask if I wanted one. Not anymore. "What did you end up doing today?" she asked. "Just some supply runs. Checked in on the Stockton job." She nodded, not listening. She was checking her phone. I watched the light from the screen dance across her face. She scrolled, tapped, smiled a little. Her screen was dimmed. Too dim to see anything from across the room. She never used to dim it. I excused myself, walked upstairs, and sat on the edge of the bed. My hands were shaking, not from rage, not even from heartbreak. From control. Every cell in my body wanted to scream at her, but I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction. I knew something now, and knowing meant power. Empowerment time. Time to destroy her. She became generous overnight. Suddenly I was waking up to breakfast in bed. She made coffee before I did. She asked about my day, about work, about my mother's health, things she hadn't brought up in months. It was like she was trying to win me over. But every act of kindness felt like a setup. That's what betrayal does. It turns sweetness into poison. I kept up the act. I laughed at her jokes. I complimented her cooking. I said she looked beautiful in the same black dress she wore the night I saw her pour champagne for another man. And I meant it. She was beautiful. In a dangerous, venom-laced kind of way. One night, she brought out a bottle of scotch I'd been saving for a special occasion. "What's this for?" I asked. She poured 2 glasses, handed me one, and clinked hers against mine. Just felt like celebrating. I took a sip. Let it burn down my throat. Watch her eyes over the rim of the glass. Celebrating what? She grinned. Us. She was a better actress than I gave her credit for. By April, her phone habits became a science. Always face down. Always locked. Always within reach. She started charging it in the bathroom during dinner. Said she didn't want distractions. But sometimes I'd hear it vibrate while we were eating, and I'd watch the way her eyes flicked toward the hallway. Just a second too long. Like a boxer watching for the punch before it lands. One evening, she left it unattended while she was in the shower. I moved like a thief. The passcode had changed. Of course it had. That was new. We always knew each other's passcodes. Her logic? The Face ID was being weird, and I forgot to tell you. Sure. I let it go. Out loud. Inside, I added it to the ledger. A week later, I caught her lying. It was a Tuesday. She said she was working a late open house in Brentwood. I drove to the listing. Yeah, I'd been checking them. The lights were off. No signs. No cars. I waited. At 7:43 p.m., she texted me. Just wrapping up. Long day. Love you. At 8:10, she came through the front door, holding a bottle of wine she said was a thank you gift from the owners. She was wearing a necklace I hadn't seen before. Thin gold chain, small black diamond. It caught the light in a way that screamed not for me. Pretty, I said. She touched it. You think? New. She hesitated just enough. Had it forever. Found it in an old jewelry box. Looks expensive. She smiled. You're noticing things lately. I said, you're making things easy to notice. I told her I had a weekend job out in Barstow. Said I'd be leaving Saturday morning and staying overnight. Just a quick turnaround. There was no job. I parked my truck in a friend's garage 2 blocks away and walked home with a duffel bag and a fake receipt I printed off my laptop. Gave her a kiss goodbye. She smiled and said, be safe. An hour later, I watched through the security camera I had wired into the porch light the week before. She was on her phone. She was smiling. Then she changed. She disappeared into the bedroom and came out in heels and a short dress I'd never seen. Not once. She checked her reflection in the mirror. Adjusted her lipstick. Sprayed perfume, that perfume and walked out the door with the same calm composure she used for Sunday morning brunch. I followed her. Not close. Just enough. She didn't go to any restaurant. She didn't go to a showing. She went to a parking garage in Century City. Got out. Walked straight to a black Mercedes already waiting. He stepped out and opened the door for her. I watched from a rooftop. They drove away. I didn't follow. Didn't need to. I had the plate number. By Monday, I knew his name. Grant Merriman. Real estate investor. Private equity. Yacht club member. Divorced. 2 kids. Drives a G63 and an Aston Martin. Buys properties under a shell corporation. Likes to keep things discreet. He was richer than me. That wasn't news. But here's the part she didn't know. I didn't get into plumbing because I had no options. I got in because my old man owned the company. I bought him out when I was 35. I don't have Grant's toys, but I have cash. Leverage. Friends in places he wouldn't think to look. And I'm not in the habit of letting things slide. So I did something Monica would never see coming. I hired someone. Not a thug. Not a spy. A paper chaser. A forensic accountant. I gave him Grant's name, his LLC, and a date range. Find me everything he's touched in the last 6 months, I said. Especially anything in her name. The accountant raised an eyebrow. Looking for fraud? I shook my head. Looking for footprints. I wasn't just going to catch her. I was going to bury her in her own lies. And when the time came, I'd smile while I did it. The accountant's report came back the following Friday, sealed in a nondescript envelope with no return address. Inside was a thumb drive and a single sheet of paper. Be careful who you trust, it said. No signature. I plugged the drive into my laptop and opened the folder labeled Grant Merriman/Assets, cross-reference. It had subfolders by property, by wire transfer, and, most important, by shared holdings. There were documents with her name on them. Monica Keller. Not mine. His. A holding company registered in Nevada had wired $78,000 into a joint account just 5 weeks earlier. The name on the account? Her name and a second alias, Jason LeClaire. Another shell. Another veil. That's when I stopped breathing. It wasn't just an affair. It was something bigger. There were investments, bank statements, emails flagged with confidential headers, contracts she hadn't told me about, digital footprints that didn't match the story she was selling every time she came home smiling. And I knew what this meant. Whatever this was, it was long-term. This wasn't just someone she was fooling around with. This was someone she was building with. And the worst part? She still looked me in the eyes every day like I was too dumb to see the cracks in the floor. The shift came hard that weekend. We were out to dinner with friends. One of those forced double-date things she insisted on, a tech guy and his wife Monica had met at some networking event. Probably another one of Grant's circles. Rich people cosplay. She was on. Smiling. Pouring wine. Laughing too hard at jokes. The wife, Angela, leaned in at one point and said, "You know, your wife talks about you all the time. Says you're the anchor. It's really sweet." Anchor. That word hit me like a chain around the neck. I smiled back, because that's what you do when someone calls you dead weight. "Yeah," I said. "I try to keep things steady." Monica leaned in. "He's more than steady. He's the reason I can take risks." I almost laughed. Instead, I excused myself, went to the restroom, and splashed cold water on my face. Risks, huh? When I came back, she was showing Angela pictures of a house in Palm Springs. Not ours. Angela clapped. "It looks incredible. Is that your next listing?" Monica didn't miss a beat. Hopefully. But I already knew. That house was under the LLC. The one linked to her and Jason LeClaire. The one I wasn't supposed to know existed. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I started pulling threads. I accessed the security system and added a second administrator. Me. I installed a new dash cam in her car. One that looked like a backup mirror but had internal storage and streamed via Bluetooth to my burner phone whenever the car moved. I adjusted the motion sensors on the front porch camera to track down to the sidewalk. Every face. Every footstep. I added a keylogger to the laptop she left open in the office. It took 2 days for the password to pop. Then I had her emails. Subject, next steps. From Grant Merriman to Monica Keller. Emma, Friday works. I'll have the attorney draft a version we can use without triggering the prenup. I know it's sensitive, but the valuation favors us if we move before the end of Q2. Gee. She never responded. Not by email. She called him 20 minutes later. I know because I checked the log. 13 minutes, 22 seconds. She started getting bold after that. Stopped wearing her ring around the house. Said it felt tight lately. I nodded. Didn't mention it. Didn't ask where she went when she disappeared for hours. Didn't ask about the new bag Chanel. Didn't ask how she could afford it when she claimed to be scaling back for tax season. She brought up couples therapy once. Out of nowhere. You've been different lately, she said one night while folding laundry. More distant. I don't want to lose you. I stared at her. That's the thing about liars. They always want to be seen as victims before you get the knife out of their back. I'm not going anywhere, I said. Not yet. She didn't ask what I meant. She just kissed my cheek and whispered, good. Like she'd won something. One night she left her laptop open. She never did that. It was late. She'd fallen asleep on the couch, wine glass on the floor, half full. I waited an hour. Made sure she was out cold. The desktop was blank at first, just a browser tab with Google Sheets and a calendar. But behind it was a document titled Exit Plan, KM Group. It was bullet points. Set up silent partner agreement for the Palms. Transfer escrow to KM Holdings. Schedule appraisal after Dan's inspection. Finalize optics strategy for public statement. Keep D in the dark through Q2 close. D. I stared at it until the screensaver kicked in. That was me. They had a name for me. A role. A timeline. Keep D in the dark through Q2 close. I shut the laptop and walked outside. Lit a cigarette. I haven't smoked in 10 years. That night, I smoked 3. Next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Poured coffee. Wore my t-shirt. Gave me a sleepy smile and said, you should take the weekend off. You've been working so hard. Thinking about it, I said. She leaned over the counter and said, maybe we could get out of town. Just us. Like old times. I smiled. You read my mind. She walked off, humming again. That same tune. Later that afternoon, she texted me from her car. Running errands. Want me to pick up dinner? I replied, surprise me. Then I opened the stream from the dash cam. She wasn't running errands. She was in Beverly Hills, at a jewelry store. And she wasn't alone. She wasn't with Grant either. It was another man, one I didn't recognize. She leaned into him, laughed. He touched her back. They walked inside. And I sat there, watching, smiling, whispering to myself. Good. Keep digging. Because I was done following. The next move would be mine. She was whistling when she came back. That same off-key melody. Not a care in the world. A shopping bag in one hand, a bottle of red wine in the other, expensive heels tapping on the tile like nothing could touch her. She set the bag down and kissed me like we'd just gotten back from our honeymoon. Like we hadn't spent the last 6 weeks swimming in tension and false smiles. Traffic was brutal, she said, slipping off her shoes. But I picked up the Thai food you like. I nodded. Took the bag. The receipt was folded at the bottom. Time-stamped for almost an hour after she had walked into the jewelry store. I said nothing. Let the silence sit between us, warm and twitching like a wounded animal. You okay? She asked. I shrugged. You ever have one of those days where it feels like people are lying to your face and you're supposed to thank them for it? She blinked, but didn't flinch. Rough job site? Something like that. She poured the wine. Sat across from me at the table. Her foot brushed mine under the surface, soft as static. Her smile didn't waver. Let's take a trip, she said suddenly. Somewhere warm. We could use it. I stared at her. We. You and me. You've been distant lately. You think a vacation would fix that? She tilted her head. Wouldn't hurt. I nodded slowly. You pick the place. She reached across the table and touched my hand. Her fingers were warm. Her eyes didn't blink. I already have. I stopped sleeping through the night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw headlights in a garage, a man's hand on her back, her laugh in another room. I'd wake up sweating, the sound of her humming echoing in the back of my skull like a tune played at a funeral I wasn't invited to. She was quiet in bed. That part had changed. She used to talk. Used to touch my chest while we fell asleep. Now she laid still, back to me, as if sleep was the only time she didn't have to pretend. And yet every morning she acted like we were fine. She brewed the coffee, made my toast, kissed my neck like we were 25 again. She was playing a part, but I hadn't decided if I was her audience or her mirror. I started digging into Grant Merriman's financials myself. Didn't want to keep feeding the accountant. I needed to get my hands dirty. Needed to feel the edges of it. Turns out Grant didn't just fund projects. He absorbed people. He'd take someone, usually a realtor, sometimes a designer, sometimes just someone with a name, and he'd build a separate company around them. All above board. All legal. It was clean money. But it meant that Monica wasn't just a fling. If she was wrapped up in his shell core, she was an asset. And assets don't get discarded. They get transferred. Or buried. One document stood out. A new LLC registered out of Florida, days old. Kellett Partners. No address. No personnel listed. But it matched her initials. MK. I saved the file. Printed it twice. One for the safe. One for the glove box. She started showing up later. Her excuses got thinner. I was with Carla, became, I had a meeting, became, I just needed time. I stopped asking. She noticed. You don't ask where I've been anymore, she said one night, staring at me from across the living room. You always tell me, I said. She studied me. You believe me? Do you want me to? She smiled then. A slow, razor smile. The kind you see on courtroom defendants who already know the verdict. You're hard to read lately, she said. Good. She stood, walked over, and leaned down. Her hand rested on my chest. She whispered, You're still my husband, you know. I looked her in the eye. For now. Her smile twitched. Then she kissed me. It was the first time in weeks. And for the first time in 17 years, I didn't kiss her back. A week later, I found the bracelet. It was in the back of her closet, beneath a pair of old boots, tucked in a silk bag. Gold links. Tiny emerald in the clasp. No receipt. No box. No tag. It wasn't from me. I left it where it was. Didn't bring it up. That same night, she wore new earrings. Said she'd had them forever. The next morning, I started checking the house for hidden things. Not just the obvious spots. I checked inside books, behind drawer liners, under rugs, in pockets of coats she hadn't worn in months. I didn't find much, just fragments. Loose bills. Lipstick shades I'd never seen. Business cards with no names, just numbers. But in the attic, behind an old suitcase, I found something else. A second phone. Burner model. Cheap. Plastic. No case. It was off. Battery dead. I left it there. Took a picture. Time-stamped it. Then put it back. She hadn't moved it since. Which meant she either forgot about it or didn't need it anymore. That weekend, she booked a cabin. Said she wanted to reconnect. It's near Big Bear, she said. Just 2 nights. No distractions. I asked why now. She just smiled. Because we're worth it. I nodded. Agreed. Packed light. Brought the burner phone with me. And a second one. Mine. We drove up Saturday morning. She was cheerful, playing music, talking about how we used to take road trips without a map, how we always ended up somewhere strange and beautiful. I smiled. Played along. The cabin was isolated. Rustic. The kind of place you could scream, and no one would hear. There was no cell reception. She unpacked fast, opened a bottle of wine, lit a fire. You're quiet, she said that night. Just tired. She wrapped her arms around me. You know I love you, right? I didn't answer. She pressed her forehead to mine. Do you? I pulled away. Looked her dead in the eyes. You tell me. She laughed. But it wasn't the same. There was a flicker there, something nervous, something flickering just beneath the surface. She kissed me then. Slow. Hungry. Like a woman making a final decision. Or stalling one. That night, I pretended to sleep. At 2:14 a.m., I felt her get out of bed. The floor creaked once. Then silence. I waited. Then rose and followed. She was outside, on the porch, whispering into her phone. I couldn't hear the words. But I heard the tone. Urgent. Fast. Contained. She didn't stay long. Came back inside 5 minutes later. I slid back into bed and slowed my breathing. She slid in beside me. Her skin was cold. She reached for my hand and held it. I let her. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Didn't blink. She whispered, I love you. I whispered nothing. Just stared into the dark ceiling above us, counting the seconds between lies. The next morning, we drove home in silence. She said she had to check in on something and took a detour downtown. Dropped me off at the house and said she'd be back by 6. I kissed her cheek and watched her drive away. Then I opened my laptop, logged into the new dashcam system, and watched the feed. Not just from that day, but from the last 2 weeks. I saw every route, every stop, every man, every smile she gave when she thought no one was watching. And I realized something. She didn't just think I was blind. She needed me to be. Because her game only worked if I played my part. Well, I played it long enough. The curtain was closing. Next time she walked through that door, it would be the last time she ever lied to me without knowing she was already too late. She walked in at 6:23 p.m., carrying 2 paper bags of groceries and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Sunset behind her. Warm light spilling across the kitchen tile like blood in a dream. "Hey," she said, setting the bags down. "I got that wine you like." I didn't answer. She turned, raising one eyebrow. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I've been busy." She tilted her head. "Doing what?" "Rebuilding." She blinked. Just a flicker. A tiny fracture. "Rebuilding what?" I stood, walked over to the kitchen table, picked up the black folder I had prepped that afternoon, slid it across the counter. She didn't open it. "Go ahead," I said. "It's all there." She hesitated, then pulled the flap back and leafed through the first few pages. Her face didn't change until she hit the third sheet, Grant's wire transfers, the ones with her name. Her hand paused mid-turn, then kept going. LLC docs, joint accounts, cell tower pings, dashcam stills, then finally photos. Her, Grant, Beverly Hills, and the others. The men. 3. 2 in cars. 1 at the bar downtown. She exhaled, long, slow, like someone trying to cool a burn they know won't stop hurting. "You followed me," she said softly. "I watched you. You were spying on me." "No," I said. "Spying is when you don't know what you're looking for." I knew exactly what I was looking for. She put her hand on the counter, looked up at me with those wide green eyes I used to get lost in. "I can explain." I laughed. Not loud, not cruel, just tired. "Of course you can," I said. "You've been explaining for months." She stepped forward. "Please, Dana. I already know." I pulled out my phone. Hit play. Her voice came through the speakers, soft, urgent. "I'll handle it. He's almost there. I just need 1 more quarter, then the account clears and we're gone. He suspects something, but he doesn't know how far it goes. We've got time." She froze. "Is that from the cabin?" she whispered. I nodded. "Nice porch acoustics. Clear line of sight." Her hand dropped from the counter. Then she did the thing that broke the last thread of pity in me. She smirked. "You're smarter than I gave you credit for. And you're exactly as arrogant as I thought." She sat down, just like that, composed, legs crossed, calm. "All right," she said. "So now what? You want to scream? Break something? Cry? Go ahead. I'll wait." "No," I said. "I'm not here for that." She raised one eyebrow. "You already burned the house," I continued. "I'm just here to sweep the ashes into a bag and send them to your next address." Her smile faltered. I walked back to the kitchen table, picked up the second envelope, and tossed it next to her. "What's that?" "Signed power of attorney revocation. You don't control anything in my name anymore. Already notarized. Already filed." She stared. I tossed the next item thicker. "Prenup activation clause. Infidelity." She blinked. "You can't prove." "Grant's name is on the escrow statement for the Palm Springs property. Your signature's on the same document. I don't need video. I've got money." She opened her mouth, closed it again. I placed the last envelope in front of her. "What's this?" she whispered. "Transfer of ownership for the car. The condo downtown? I let it go to auction. Shared credit line. You can thank the foreclosure team next week. Your name's on that lease, not mine." You tanked your credit?" "No," I said. "I isolated it. Everything toxic is now tied to yours." She stood, eyes wild. "You're bluffing. Try buying a flight. Try using the joint card. Try calling Carla." She froze again. "You spoke to Carla?" "No. I bought Carla." She stepped back. "Just once. Just half a foot. But I saw it. The first real fear." "You think I didn't see this coming?" I said, stepping toward her. "You think I've been sitting here waiting to be broken?" "No. I've been sharpening knives while you smiled at me from across the dinner table." She said nothing. "I've already pulled my name off the business, moved my assets into a protected trust, filed for a single-member LLC. You'll get nothing. Not half. Not a quarter. Not a lawyer who hasn't already shaken my hand." "You can't do this," she whispered. "I already did." Her mouth trembled. What about us?" I looked at her. And finally, I smiled. "There was never an US. Just me. And the version of me you thought was stupid enough to love you." She crumpled then. Tried to reach for my hand. I stepped back. "No," I said. "We're done. But what about?" "I'll tell you what I told the lawyer." I leaned in, just close enough to see her tears catch the kitchen light. She doesn't get to write the ending. She packed a suitcase that night. Didn't speak. Didn't cry. Just walked out. The next morning, I changed the locks, changed the passcodes, and scheduled the locksmith for every property I still owned. The family group chat? Gone. Her photos on the wall? Down. Her toothbrush? Burned. That afternoon, Grant tried to call. Blocked. Then texted, "You're making a mistake." I replied. So did she. The world didn't end. It just changed shape. Colder. Quieter. But mine. I poured a drink. Sat by the window. Listened to the silence. It didn't hurt. Not anymore. That's the difference between heartbreak and betrayal. Heartbreak begs for answers. Betrayal already knows. And it doesn't forgive. It waits. Then it burns the world down and walks away smiling. Subscribe to hear more stories.